morning.
Good morning.
I swear here it is another time for an exciting edition of Here in Mullins, and we're happy to be with you. And we have an informative show coming up today. But before we go into that show, we got to sell a few commercials, so we'll be right back after these breaks.
You're watching Hometown TV, Channel 8.
And we're back. Well, of course, we're so informal here, we don't ever have a script, and we just fly by the seat of our pants. But I didn't even introduce my co-host, Michelle Rogers, and Michelle's getting a real head of steam going here. The rubber meets the road with her. She has become somewhat of a little local hero, and
oh wow,
she has really stepped into this role, and she's doing some great things for the chamber, and she's doing such a wonderful job of working with us at the City of Mullins. You just keep doing what you're doing. We got good things happening.
We do. We have a lot of great things going on.
And you folks stay tuned. I think you'll be very proud of what you'll see coming down the pike. A lot of it we can't talk about right now, but one thing we can talk about is we have a guest with us today, and I'm going to let you introduce her, and you start.
Okay.
Start the quiz off if you'd like.
Well, we are so happy to have with us Twanda Rouse this morning. She is with PD Coalition. She is with the Durant Children's Center, and she is a child advocate.
Family advocate. And we've got a month to celebrate or to make everyone aware of child abuse prevention. Right.
And so she is here with us today to let us know a little bit about that, what goes on in that world.
Right. Well, as Michelle mentioned, PD Coalition, that's a nonprofit volunteer-based program where we're dedicated to the reduction of interpersonal violence, including rape, family violence, and child abuse. So my program is a child advocacy program. I work at Durant Children's Center. I'm the lead advocate there. We have two others, so a total of 3 family advocates. And that means I work with the children and the families when they come in, and then I coordinate services with our other multidisciplinary team members. So when we're talking about Child Abuse Prevention Month, we're talking about not only bringing awareness to child abuse, neglect, and sexual assault, but we're also giving our community members, the 7 counties that we serve in the PD, and then also Sumter County, we're giving them an opportunity to learn ways to keep our children safe, from neglect, willful and unintentional child abuse, having protective factors for caregivers and parents, keeping them safe in their car seats, even protecting them from persons that we know, because over 90% of children that are sexually assaulted, sexually abused, are by people that they know.
Sometimes family members too.
Yes, very much so. That's the highest percentage of that 90+%.
Well, if I had to ask you the top 3, when you say child abuse, that's I guess a broad sweeping term.
It is.
But if I ask you the top 3 forms of child abuse, what would they be?
Sexual assault, or sexual abuse, physical abuse, and then neglect. We'll just...
Like the lady who left her 2 children recently so she could go to the beach for a long weekend with her friends.
Which legislation is, yes, that type of neglect, but also just basic neglectfulness, as in not just a dirty home, but... animal feces, keeping them in, that's not safe, their home isn't safe, not just unkempt, but unsafe environments, not having enough food to eat, not taking advantage of services that can provide food and shelter and all of those different things. Sometimes it's just a lack of caregivers and parents not knowing the resources, but then sometimes it is just willful neglect.
I imagine you go into some pretty scary situations, don't you?
Well, I don't per se.
But you're field workers.
Yes, so we get to hear it, and you would think just because now you're the third party, you're the third neutral party in this, because Child Protective Service has been there, law enforcement has been on the scene, and it could be both of those entities at the same time. but we get it third hand, so we're listening. But when you see a child disclose what they've gone through, it affects you just as much.
Right.
So yes.
So you mainly just work with the child,
The children and the family.
So if a family is separated, if the child maybe is put in foster care because the parent was found to be neglectful, do you like monitor their visitations, or do you have one-on-ones with the child and one-on-ones with the parents and try to come up with a family plan? How does that work?
What we do at the Children's Advocacy Center are we have forensic interviews, and we're gathering that information for law enforcement and/or child protective services with DSS. We provide forensic medical exams. We provide therapy. My job as a family advocate, once a child and their caregiver comes in, then I first of all just want them to get comfortable, get acclimated to our center. It's a child-friendly environment, and that's what it was intended to. That's why children advocacy centers were started years ago by Senator Kramer in Huntsville, Alabama. It's so that this child can come in one place, and law enforcement, DSS can be at that place observing the interview of that child. So, and it's child-friendly and it's safe. So my first position is to get them comfortable,
Right.
get information and consent authorization signed by that caregiver, and then once everything is over, we give them a treat. We let a snack and get them a treat. But then after that, my job is now to work with DSS and law enforcement to see what steps are being taken. Is this case going to prosecution? Is this family member going, a mom or dad, or if it's an aunt or grandma that's raising a child, is this case going to be indicated? What services does this child need? Do I need to refer this child to therapy? Do I need to refer this tween or this teenager to some type of empowerment type of group, or girls and boys? All kinds of resources that are out there,
Right.
to begin the healing process for the child and the family. I do what you call a case tracking. That's with law enforcement, DSS, and then I do family follow-ups. Just say, hey, how are you guys doing? Type of thing.
How long would you keep a family on your case as a case?
I have it for about a year.
A year.
After a year, because our consent authorizations last up to that long, it can take a year or more for a case to go for prosecution. So if it's a type of criminal case, I have them a little over a year because I'm going to go with them for court preparation, whether that be with DSS and or criminal court cases. I go for moral support. I go in that capacity as well. So
your agency has no statutory law enforcement powers, but you do aid in the investigative. You initiate the investigative process.
Not initiate. Law enforcement refers.
Okay.
Also, DSS Child Protective Services refers to us. We aid in by having that forensic interview. We aid in our forensic interviewers being certified and trained to be able to attest to what the child said in the interview.
So they're trained to listen to certain buzzwords or
behaviors.
actions or behavioral actions, and
they're also trained to not ask leading questions, because we're dealing with children first and foremost, and then we're dealing with children that has suffered some type of trauma. So it's our position not to further traumatize them. So they're trained in that way. And they're also able to testify, both forensic interviewers and medical staff, what they witness while they are with the child providing that service. And so they can also testify and say, hey, this might not be a good idea for this child to get on stand in front of and confront the person, the alleged
traumatized.
Yeah, it may not be a good idea.
Do you have any numbers as of Marion County? How many cases you may service?
We do have numbers. I do not have those numbers here. We do. We're responsible for having statistics every month, and then those are accounted for in various different ways, quarterly. And what I mean by that, we have a VOCA grant, that's Victims of Crime Act grant, and then we also are responsible to our national and our local chapter for children advocacy centers. We put those numbers out. Now, Marion Mullins, Dillon numbers, may be slightly skewed because we do have another children's advocacy center that sees children as well. But overall, for the 7 counties that we serve, first of all, 1 is too many.
Right.
So, but we do see a number of children throughout the year.
What do you see as the number one issue behind child abuse? Is it poverty? Is it educational? Is it racial? Is there any common denominator involved? I'm sure that you probably are shocked sometimes at who's doing the abuse.
I would have been maybe 7 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, but now?
Not so much now. And I think the common denominator is ignorance, lack of understanding what child abuse is, lack of understanding how to rear children and have those protective factors in place for the parent to have protective factors in place. Because all of those things you mentioned can and may and will play a part in child abuse, but it does not initiate child abuse. Like being poor does not equate to you're going to be an abuser of your child, or being a Caucasian doesn't amount to you're going to abuse your child more. Drug and alcohol does play a major part, but like I said, it doesn't initiate those things. But all of those elements are part of child abuse. But like I said, lack of understanding and awareness of what it is.
Boy, I tell you, I wish we had much more time. We don't have much time left. In fact, we're getting that old evil eye up there, but
this is so interesting, and
maybe have her come back at another time to get more involved in this. But
yes.
Do you accept outside funding or donations or gifts?
Most definitely, and I'm glad you say that, because I mentioned the vocal grant, but for prevention it's strictly private donors for our prevention part.
How would somebody donate to
contact PD Coalition and just let them know. They write the check, they tell them who to write it to, and just put, the 4-line Durant Children.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have you leave that address and phone number with our videographer, and they will put it on the screen and let it scroll during this interview process. But why don't you share with the folks listening, give them a phone number to call, and even a post office box or mailing address to send donations. Folks, this is such a worthwhile effort.
I know, it just pulls at your heartstrings. I want to tear up just thinking about it. And, like you said earlier, some people, their parents may have left them in a car and gone in the grocery store when I was a child. That wasn't a bad thing. Well, now you can't do that. So maybe they don't exactly know that that's neglect.
Correct.
So I know the education, making parents aware of the current laws and all of that is a big part of what you do, I know.
And our teachers, our friends, our family, because a lot of things, like you said, traditional, if you allude to traditional things, and it's like I was okay
not
with
putting
it.
a child in the car seat is against the law now.
Exactly.
And back in the day, there wasn't even a seat belt.
Exactly.
So maybe a grandparent doesn't realize how important that is.
Exactly.
Well, Tawanda, look into the camera and give your main phone number where people can contact you, and then a post office box where they may, folks, if you got an extra $1 or $2 lying around, please to consider giving to this worthwhile cause. And tell them, Tawanda.
Okay, Durant Children's Center, Florence, South Carolina, P.O. Box 1351, and that zip would be 29503. The telephone number is 843-664-4357.
Will you come back?
Most definitely.
We'll talk about maybe spousal abuse. Or whatever we need to talk about, but I certainly don't think that we're through with this issue because it is so vitally important.
Sounds good. And I've left some things for you guys, some paraphernalia here and some telephone numbers and contacts.
So if you need any of that, you can stop by the chamber and I will have it handy.
Most definitely. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
It was
so
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Thank
you too.
And we'll be back after these messages.
You're watching Hometown TV, Channel 8.
And we are back. We hope that you enjoyed that informative session. That is...
It breaks your heart.
It breaks your heart. And anybody that's a parent or a grandparent or aunt or uncle, I know it would pull at your heartstrings too. But we'll have her back because she's got plenty of other things to talk about. But we've got a lot of great things coming up.
We had a great event too before we go into what's coming up. But let's go back for just a couple of weeks ago to the legislative breakfast.
Yes, that was a wonderful event.
We had a great legislative breakfast. All of our representatives from all of our federal senator and House member and all of our local legislators were here, and a great breakfast provided by MUSC. Yep, it's hard to get used to saying that, but what a wonderful treat that is to have a premier medical facility here right in our midst.
Yes. And we attended the kickoff.
We did.
At the hospital where they made the official announcement, and they were changing out all the signs on the building, so that was exciting. And then as you said, they catered our breakfast. That was a very informative event. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on in the legislature and what your representatives are doing for you, you really need to put that on your calendar every year. We talked about everything from the inland port to increasing teacher pay for our local area teachers. Celia, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. Urquhart was here to let us know what Lindsey Graham is doing in Washington with the tariffs.
Yep.
And we just went over everything. The opportunity zones from Tim Scott's office. A.D. Jordan was here representing that. And that is something that if you aren't aware of, you really need to get online and do some research. We have actual areas in Mullins and Marion that are in these opportunity zones. And
which enables people to get grants and other things.
Right. To put money into our county to build
anything from infrastructure to factories.
Anything. And this money would be coming in from investors all across our nation.
Exactly.
We just got to, so if you don't know about that, you really should look it up or call Tim Scott's office. I'm sure they've got plenty of literature that they'd be willing to send you or email you.
In fact, I'm going to meet with them on Friday, but Senator Tim Scott is one of the co-sponsors, primary sponsors of the Opportunity Zone bill. He and Senator Cory Booker were the mainstays behind this legislation.
And the whole idea of this is for the areas that have been neglected for lack of a better term, but they'll put money into areas like Mullins and Marion versus Greenville or Charleston or whomever getting big dollars and funding from the government. So,
what a voice Representative Roger Kirby has.
Yes, if you have never heard Representative Roger Kirby sing, you should make it a point to put that on your bucket list.
He sang our national anthem, and I don't think I've ever heard it done any better.
He did a wonderful job. It was amazing.
And you know what we can't do? We can't forget old knothead Rodney Berry.
Yes.
Rodney was there too, representing Representative Rice. So,
and he did a wonderful job.
If I don't mention his name, I'll get an arrow through the heart. But boy, you tell her 2 minutes will be okay. We're running with it, aren't we? What else we got coming up? Good things.
Great things coming up. Easter is right around the corner. This year we are trying to coordinate a community Easter extravaganza. It'll be held here on Main Street, so we want you to hop on down to Main Street and enjoy all the fun. We are asking that churches, businesses, civic groups, anybody that wants to participate, just let me know. We want you to set up a tent or set up a table and offer a game or an activity for children. It'll be a free event. There would be food and drink there available to purchase, but everything else we want to have free to the community. And then once we get past Easter, we've got a golf tournament coming up.
It's that time of year.
It's that time of year. So if you are a golf pro, not necessarily a pro, but if you even like to hit the ball, please let us know. We'd love for you to sponsor or play. It'll be held at Dusty Hills again this year, which is nice, right here in Marion County. And all this information is on our website. So anytime you want to look up and see what's going on in the city of Mullins, you can go to the city's webpage, or you can go to mullinschamber.com and find all the information and the sign-ups and registrations. And then our big event that we have every year is coming up on June the 1st.
Let's Cruise Maine.
Yes, and we are so excited, and we are getting together almost every week, planning things. This year we've expanded to 2 bands. So
Two bands.
2 bands. Who would have ever thought that we would see 2 bands? So it's going to be a fun-filled day with the car show parade, rolling car show, food, fun, music, vendors. I mean, we'll have all the details for you, I'm sure.
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
It's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook. But we'll have somebody come in from the committee, and we'll go over all the little juicy details.
And we may have a very special grand marshal. I'm working on it. I don't know that it's going to happen, so I can't say anything about it. But a double effort has been made, and I think the chances are pretty good right now.
Oh, so stay tuned. That'll be our secret. We'll keep that a secret, so you have to keep watching.
Absolutely. This time next month.
That's right.
Okay, here in Mullins this time next month. I guess that's a good way to end the session. All right. And thanks for watching. Truly, with this young lady and a very innovative and a very our chamber.
Speechless.
Our chamber board is just dynamic, and they're doing all kinds.
That's
of
right. The chamber, the board is who does and puts in the work, and they just let me sit up here and talk. So
you're a talking head.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that makes me one too. So on that note, let's just look in the camera and say, we'll see you this time next month.
We'll see you next month. Are we going to do that together?
Yeah, let's do it.
Wait, I think it's time to cut this show to
All right,
wrap it up.
We'll see y'all next month.
Thank you.